Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Oceanside, California. We're at our host hotel, the Mission Pacific. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by MasterSpas, as fuels go longer, HOKA Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Next up, from Canada, Tamara Jewett joins us. How you doing, Tamara?
I'm good. Yeah.
So you're coming off a little bit of a training block outside of Vegas. I think people underestimate how good training is outside of Vegas.
Yeah, it was beautiful. First time I've been in that area, and there's really great cycling around the Lake Mead Park there, and some beautiful outdoor swimming pools. It was really nice.
And a lot of trails for running. You can find some trails there.
We had some nice sort of paved wetland trails, but it looked like there are a lot of sort of like dirt trails in the mountains there as well.
So growing up, running was your deal.
Yes. Yeah.
And so was the goal to potentially make it to the Olympics? What were you thinking?
Yeah. So I think on paper, my run results look okay, but never really up to what we felt my potential was.
Right.
And the goal was to try to qualify in the 5K in 2016 for Rio. And my training partner at the time, Andrea Sekafine, did end up going on to do that. And she's a professional runner now, but I've just had quite a series of injury issues in that year. Sort of the final straw injury that ended up putting me on the path into triathlon happened, and I couldn't run for 18 months. Yeah, it was a really bad tear at the insertion point of my plantar fascia.
Oh my God. You know, the hard part about being a pro runner is obviously to run fast, you got to run. But the more you run, the more chances are you're going to have something, stress fractures and all that type of thing. Did you find throughout your career you just one injury after another, or did you have a period where you were injury-free and then towards the end it just sort of went downhill?
I think for me, my injuries started in first year university. So through high school, I was fine.
Yes.
But then as soon as I started university, I think there was one almost 2-year stretch where I wasn't injured and things really started to pick up momentum again. But other than that, everything was really chopped up by injuries that would last for 3 to 6 months at a time sometimes.
Did you find that, like in high school, you ran, I've talked to a lot of runners before, 30, 40 miles a week, everything's great. They get to college, the mileage doubles.
That didn't really happen with me. I think for me, there were so many layers of the onion of what was happening with the injuries. I did have a fairly severe eating disorder at the end of high school that kind of set off a chain of just things being out of balance in my body that took a long time to recover from. I think things like the structure of my feet, just middle distance running is really hard on them. I had a lot of plantar issues. I think I didn't understand the way that I do now, the importance of recovery in training and really focusing on that. I do think that my coaches tried to put that into our program and didn't create sort of any crazy mileage, but also didn't buy into as fully as I wish in hindsight that we had to the idea that cross training on the bike and in the pool can really benefit running. I think we were starting to get advice that I might thrive on a program with more of that, but the messaging was always, oh, but Tamara, if you could just do this all as running, imagine how good you would be. Of course, that doesn't work when you're just getting injured. You're not doing better by just running at all. You know what's funny is there was a great female triathlete named Carol Montgomery from Canada who made the team in triathlon and at the 5,000 for 2000, the first year we were in the Olympics. And she knew that her running benefited from the fact that she was cross-training. And I think when she focused just on running, she went backwards a little bit. You need that cross-training. So when did you start implementing more cross-training? It was a bit of a gradual process where at first I would be doing a lot of cross-training while I was injured. And then I would cut that out as quickly as I could once I was back to running. I think I bought into it more seriously around 2014 in patches, and then it really wasn't until I recovered from that 18 months off with the plantar issue, started doing triathlons at first to ease back into running slowly, but ended up loving triathlon, and that's when I really felt how much the cycling training and the swim, I felt like it was adding a lot of strength to my run, especially for the type of running in triathlon.
Right.
That isn't just the speed on the track, but is more sort of strength over longer courses. And I really, at least for that type of running, saw that improving and felt really good.
So 18, you're age grouper, right? And then 2019, you go pro, qualify for 2020 70.3 Worlds in your second pro race.
Yeah.
So obviously, you made the right choice, right? Did you feel after that when you start qualifying for Worlds in your second pro race, okay, this is the right place for me?
Yeah, it was a little gradual getting my mind around it. I think there actually was a period of time where I felt a bit guilty because I had been trying to solve the problems in running and try to make that work for such a long time. It felt like giving up in a way on a really big goal. But part of me felt really empowered by that as well. It had been a decade of bashing my head against a wall a little bit.
And that's amazing.
And it felt really exciting to have something a little bit new and to be able to step away from some of the frustrations in running and just to have more variety in my life. I really like the training mix in triathlon. I love the different courses.
Yes.
And I honestly think that overall I have a lot more fun racing. So, I don't know. It was gradual. There were mixed feelings for a while.
Because I bet you were still thinking, okay, this is great. This cross training is helping for 2020, and I can go to Tokyo.
Yeah, and I think that I didn't anymore feel such a strong passion about being at the Olympics as a runner, but it did feel like stepping away from that was giving up on something, and I don't usually like giving up on things.
Nobody wants to give up on their dream.
So I think it was for a while a conflict between what I felt like maybe I should be trying to do and what I actually realized I was really wanting to do.
So in 2020, you win the Canadian Pro Tri-Champs, which is awesome. And then you win your first 70.3 Timberman. And so now when you start winning and there's something, that you're one of the best. And it was a pretty short period from age grouper in 18 to winning a pro race at 70.3 distance. Then what became the goal?
Well, now the goal is to really bring my swim and bike up to be in the front of the race for longer and not just have to try to run my way there. And to just overall feel more and more proficient as a triathlete. I think in some ways, I guess that trajectory seems quick, but I didn't surprise me. I have a lot of confidence in my athletics, but I do feel like it's humbling and hard work to try to get the work that we're putting in on swim and bike to show. And that's really what I feel most passionate about now, is just trying to make my race better rounded.
Right. Now, speaking of well-rounded, do you still work as a lawyer part-time, or are you full-time tri?
Full-time tri since last November.
Okay.
So trying that out, trying to make it work. And, definitely have been able to put in some really hard training this winter. So hopefully that'll show up this weekend. If it doesn't, it will later in the season.
Nice. And in terms of attacking the bike and then going, okay, this is something I've got to work on. Mm-hmm. What have been the biggest learnings for you in terms of done the wind tunnel, more high intensity? What have you gained during this last couple years just trying to figure out the bike?
Yeah, I think it's been so many different things. I think getting more and more comfortable on the bike, and my bike handling can always use improvement, but I can start to feel that I am a little bit more confident, mm-hmm. and I think that makes a difference. And just really gradually and consistently building strength. It's taken me a while and I feel like I'm still learning how to push myself as hard on the bike as I feel that I can running. And I think that's just a mix of building strength, building experiences. Suzanne's thrown in a bunch of sort of time trial style workouts, and at some point we're going to try to look for just a TT race to do, just to try to get that feel of intensity.
Yes, becoming a real pro cyclist, right? And doing some time trial races will certainly make a difference. One of the better races last year, you and Paula Finley at Indian Wells, 46 seconds or so between you and Paula. That had to be fun.
Yeah, it was exciting. I was pleased. I was off the bike about 6 minutes behind her, so it was a bit of an exciting run, seeing if I could close the gap.
People on the side of the road going, "You're getting her! She's right there!"
Yeah, well, she knew I was coming.
Yes, yes.
And is also a strong runner, obviously.
Yes.
So it was fun. I was really excited to. The year before, I had been, I think, like 9 minutes back from Danielle Lewis, who ended up just a minute ahead of me that last year off of the bike. So I was pleased with that improvement. I felt like I was in the bike race a little bit more there, and hopefully I can just keep building.
Yeah, and also last year, well, one, the fact that you raced a lot, shows you stayed healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
That to me is the main thing, because you can't improve when you're on the side of the road, dealing with different nickels.
No, and that's really what was missing in my running career, and what I hope, will be sort of a superpower in triathlon.
Absolutely.
Is I have never been able to string together so many healthy training years, and it's how you do get better, but it's also just emotionally more exciting and engaging, and I've been really happy with that.
Well, it's because when you finish a race and you're healthy, now you can recover and start training for the next one, and you actually can have real training blocks and not have to worry about rehab all the time.
Yeah, and stringing together years rather than months makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and the win at Mont Tremblant, that's one of our favorite places. Winning 70.3 there. And people look at a U.S. Open, and I know you weren't happy with 16th, but when you get 9K for getting 16th place, which is awesome that PTO is doing that, even on a day where you weren't happy with it, that's still a pretty big paycheck.
Yes, a huge one. And I was really grateful. PTO's, the money they've been putting into the sport is really what has let me take this year to focus on triathlon.
Right.
And I really appreciate that.
It's been great. And was Collins Cup, was that your first Collins Cup?
Yes, it was.
That's pretty world-class experience.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I loved it.
And the other race I was looking at, so it's interesting when you're coming on somebody who's coming off running injuries, and you're doing half marathon, you're ninth at the Worlds. If you had said a couple years ago when you were still running, hey, next year you're going to run 6 half marathons and you're going to be healthy, you would have been like, are you crazy? Well, I can't run around the block.
As a runner, I never would have wanted to do a half marathon. I was focused on much shorter distances.
Exactly.
It seemed awfully long to me.
Right?
I do think, though, that starting the run warmed up off of the bike actually
makes
helps.
A difference, right?
Yeah, and the longer distances that aren't really intense, tight corners around the track, I think overall is easier on your body as well.
Well, you can sort of ease into it a little bit. Half marathon is still a long way where you can you don't have to go crazy in the first mile or two. Of course, the races are getting faster and faster, but you can.
It's not like the 800.
No, it's not like exactly that. When you look back at your track career, what do you look back as your best race ever?
It's an interesting question. There are a few. A big highlight for me was when I was actually quite young. I came 8th at World Juniors in the 3K, and it was a very big personal best.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience to have a personal best at a big event like that.
Right.
And it was sort of my first experience at Worlds. Not at that point in my life having really expected or tried to be there. So that probably sticks out the very most. But there are a few university races where there was one year where I won the 1500 meter at the Canadian University Championship, and I had a really rough day on the track, actually dropping out of the 3K the day before, and not slept well, not felt good for the race. It was a much more competitive race, and I was able to mentally get everything back together and just run sort of my perfect race on that day to sort of unexpectedly win it. And I was really proud that I was able to do that. So that stands out as it was such a roller coaster experience, but it ended on a really positive note. And our team did really well that year. So it was a good team experience as well.
If you were going to give feedback to some high school and college track coaches, would you say, hey guys, you know what, why not put some trainers on the track, and in between intervals, have the guys get on the bike and loosen up their legs a little bit? Would you have them, or would you like to see more cross training implemented in high school and college for runners, or do you think that it's just something that people just have to deal with the fact that you run a lot.
I think it really depends on the athlete.
Okay.
And I do think that the messaging should be a lot more open to that cross training. I think running can get a little stuck in its traditional running rut.
You think?
And I do think I like that multisport's a lot more open-minded, and I think you start to see the value in other sports that you're doing and the athleticism of those athletes, and then you feel what each sport contributes to the others. So I'm not sure that every single runner absolutely needs to be swimming and biking, but I do think that it's a great idea for injury-prone runners. I think it's great strength building, and I just think that generally the messaging around needing to mix in cross-training should be a lot more positive.
Yes. I mean, look at yourself, Chelsea Sodaro. When you were watching Chelsea win the Ironman and knowing here's a woman who had, 6 stress fractures when she was in college and then moved because of rehab, she was doing all the cycling and swimming. Her husband's like, hey, maybe you should try this triathlon thing. Next thing you know, she's Ironman world champion.
Yeah. Actually, I loved her interview with you. I was listening to some of that story, and it resonated a lot.
I thought it might, because you guys are very similar. And it's not like it's the first time I've heard that.
No,
I've heard it over the years from interviewing a lot of women coming into college and going from very minimal miles to big miles and ending up injured and careers gone and bodies changing, all sorts of things like that. Yeah. 1:13:08 at 70.3 Augusta. That's still the fastest half marathon split for a woman. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
And you can go faster.
I want to. I'm working
She's
on
like,
it.
that's a nice starting point, but there's no reason I can't run 110 off the bike.
I'm always trying to improve everything, and it would be nice to bring that one down too.
Do you feel that your running is as good now as it was when you were at your peak as a track athlete?
I think it's different. I'm training for a very different event, so I have no idea what would happen if I stepped on the track and tried to run a 5K. I think it would be quite a shock to the system. But I don't know, for those really event specifics, I don't feel like the middle distance runner that I was, but as a runner overall, I feel really happy with how my athletics are going, and I'm certainly much stronger. I don't think I would have been able to run the half marathon times that I'm able to now as a younger runner. I just don't think I was strong enough.
No, absolutely. And when you look at the rest of this season, what are you thinking?
Kind of wrapping my head around the fact that a new season is starting this weekend. I am going to be in Europe for a month in May. I'm going to do the PTO Europe Open
Sweet.
in Ibiza, which is exciting. And then
exciting.
I wanted to take advantage of that to try a 70.3 in Europe. So I'm going to do 70.3 Aix-en-Provence, because I've never done Ironman racing there, and it seemed like a good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then back to Tremblant, which will be exciting. It's
trying to defend your title.
Yeah, and always nice to race in Canada too.
The strength training that comes along with triathlon, because you have to do it, right? And I don't know how much strength training you did in running, but it is a different type of running. You become more of a strength runner. How much strength training are you doing?
I have a program that's sort of three days a week, but it's slightly different things on each day.
Right.
There's one day that's really heavy lifting, one day that's sort of moderate, and then one day that's a lot more dynamic strength. And I'm actually working with a former sprints coach from my university, who I worked with a little bit when I was a runner as well. And he's put together a great program for me, and hopefully will contribute, especially on the bike this season. It's I have always done strength training on and off, and with some of my injuries, that was kind of all I could do. I know there have been some where it was like pull in the water and upper body strength, because I couldn't use my legs much. But we're trying to build on that. That got pretty interrupted during the pandemic, and we're trying to get it back into a good routine now.
Tamara, have yourself a great race on Saturday. It's such a treat to get to meet you, and I hope you enjoy Oceanside. It's a very special course, very unique.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to finally be here.
Tamara Jewett has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob. We are at the Mission Pacific Hotel. Hold on, everybody. We will be right